I love cartoons, but I also love learning. Hey, I'm Eric, and I'm a story artist, and here are some of the lessons that I learned from watching the first episode of Astro Boy from 1963. It's always fun to reach back into old media and see what new things we can learn. Everything old is new again.
Astro Boy was created by Tezuka Osamu in 1952 and brought to the United States in 1963. It hit the nation by storm and was widely considered to be one of the first, if not the first, anime as we know it.
If you're looking for the history, I would check out maybe one of these videos. I came at this from a story artist perspective, so my focus was mainly on things like the filmmaking, shot choices, animation choices, things like that. Hey, before we dive in, the Astro Boy cartoon contains some harmful racist stereotypes throughout several episodes. I wish we could say that this is simply a byproduct of its time, but as many modern anime fans know, anime still has issues with depictions of people of color, and it's just an issue I wanted to bring up. I won't be showing any of those clips in the stuff we cover today, but I just thought it should be something I mentioned if you decide to dive into Astro Boy after this, okay? Okay, so let's get to it.
Okay, right out the gate, the first thing that leaped out at me is how round everything, from the landscapes to the buildings and cars, all the way through to the characters. The overall design aesthetic shines through and creates a nice sense of cohesion. The characters and props all look like they belong to the same world. Also, the roundness looks fun. It's no wonder children were drawn by this. I love this cohesion, and I think it carries through a great energy throughout the entire episode. It certainly catches the eye.
One thing that I actually love about watching this is the sheer amount of visual gags, constantly feeding us visual gags after visual gags, and it's almost like it was like a vaudeville, style thing. It's really giving Looney Tunes a run for their money. Each one of these little gags is like a little surprise. It sets up an expectation, and then it subverts that expectation. It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from The Illusion of Life.
A guy can be funny the way he does it. Look at your comedians and clowns. They've all got funny ways they walk or funny timing. There's something there. We ought to be looking for entertaining ways of doing things.
Animation is a medium in which we can do almost anything. So it's important for us as filmmakers to be asking ourselves certain questions.
Is there a specific way my character would do this? Can we get a laugh? Or show some character development by showing how our character interacts with the world around them at this moment?
My favorite gag definitely goes to this one towards the end. I just totally caught me out of left field. The whole episode has happened. There's all this drama and action that's been going on, and then suddenly out of nowhere we get this. Okay, we can't talk any longer without talking about these character designs. I just can't wait. Look at them again. Round. Everything is round. I love how clear and clean and simple these character designs are. They use a lot of simple shapes to get us to love them. These designs remind me of how far simple character design principles can take us. Things like overall character shape, things like using big, medium, and small elements. They really showcase just how much mileage you can get out of just a couple of these design principles, which is fun. My two favorite character designs that I saw so far in this, I think, were the woman with the drum dress that she wears, and I think I'm obsessed with this mailbox robot. I'm not sure if it eats mail or if it poops mail and then eats. Is it fueled by? Anyway, we just have to talk about it. Okay, I love him. Now, the funny gags are only 1/3 of the episode. The other 2/3 of the episode are filled with action, drama. The show had everything. It's no wonder kids were obsessed. It makes a lot of sense. Throughout the episode, there are examples of rock-solid compositions. The episode sees our characters going through some traumatic events, including our main character getting into a fatal car accident in the beginning. What? These events are shown to the audience in these simple yet effective compositions. This reminds me of ways that we can build stronger compositions. Things like having well-defined foreground, midground, and background elements, using more extreme angles like up shots, down shots, tilts, using things like frame within a frame and strong silhouettes.
With animation being so expensive and hard to make, sometimes these visually interesting compositions do a lot of the heavy lifting, saves the animators a lot of time and energy having to move things. These strong compositions keep the frame alive and are interesting to look at while being relatively cost-effective.
I think the takeaway here, the lesson that I learned from this part, is work smarter, not harder when I'm doing things like my thumbnail pass. Has me asking, what can my composition do for me? Speaking of shot choices, I loved seeing all of these abstract and interesting shot and animation choices.
I think a lot of these shots were created in an attempt to save the filmmakers time during production, but instead of feeling like cheap time savers, now these choices give the episode a fun sense of style and highlight something I love about animation in general: creativity. These shots remind me that there are a million different ways to represent your ideas, especially in animation. I think the lesson here is to remember to think creatively about your shot choices. When choosing my shots, perhaps it'd be a good idea to ask myself, is there a more interesting way I could show this? Is this an engaging composition? How would I depict this if I wasn't constrained by conventional filmmaking?
The last thing I want to talk about is that boy, Astro Boy.
Astro Boy, the character, embodies one of the most nebulous principles of animation: appeal. Astro Boy is such an appealing character.
Rooting for him is easy. We want to see him succeed, which I think is the point.
His design is both iconic and plain adorable. From his clear character features, cute expressions, and superhero-like abilities, it's easy to see why kids responded so well to this character. This is definitely a character the kids wanted to be or be with.
Which I think is one of the most important things about storytelling. Telling stories about characters we like. Astro Boy is a character that we want to be or be with, living in a world that we would live in if we could, facing problems that we ourselves would never want to face in a million years. And I think that is a good recipe for a good story. I think the main takeaway that I got here is to tell stories about good main characters, which is easier said than done, and that's why there's teams of people that design these characters and write for these characters and all of that. But that's why it's fun. So is Astro Boy worth taking a look at today? Well, I think so. I think it's got some interesting things that we can learn from, some interesting things that we should be reminded of. Overall, it's just a fun way to look back into the past. So, did you check out Astro Boy? Have you seen it? What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? What things did you learn? Love to hear about it. Thanks for watching. Bye.